To a hack.
To a hack.
Hack attack.
My name is Will.
My name is Catherine.
And this is Behind the Pixel, an Open Pixel podcast, the podcast where we bridge the knowledge gap between those who buy creative content and those who make it.
You're getting very good at that.
I am getting very good at that.
I support you.
Thank you. I've said it too much.
Or not enough.
Or not enough. In this hack, we're going to offer you 3 questions to avoid when asking for an estimate. 3 questions.
Mm-hmm.
So
1, 2, 3.
Pretty simple. It's these are questions that for us, we don't necessarily like to answer.
We don't recommend.
We don't recommend asking them, but we also don't like answering them.
That's true.
And we'll tell you why in a second. So these questions are generally used as signals to us whenever we're in a conversation with someone to try to figure out what other questions do we have to ask to figure out more information around the project. So the first question, and this was a question that I got recently from a good friend of mine. What's your cost per minute? This question is so prevalent in the animation community. Lots of people think this way. We believe that it's sort of the wrong way to think about it, at least here for us, because it doesn't take into account visual style, right? Different styles kind of have different production methods, so it doesn't take into account different production methods. It also doesn't take into account any value added for the content that's being made. So it just doesn't take into account some of these things, which can come with endless complexities that drive all sorts of costs in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at an example of that and say, like, if you asked me, what's your cost per minute of animating a dragon? I would probably look at you and say, well, what is the dragon doing?
Right.
That's a big question. There's a lot of
minute of what? A minute of like breathing?
Right.
Or a minute of like running?
Or flying and fighting and being a cool dragon.
So that's one version of it. But what's your cost per minute as a studio would be like, okay, is the dragon something that we purchased that's complete with a rig and it's already modeled and textured and ready to go? Or are we talking about a model that we have to texture and model and rig?
Right. How many more steps are required there?
Yeah. And then what's your cost per minute in terms of animation style? Like, is it stop motion, like faux stop motion? Are we like animating on 2s or are we animating on 4s?
Yeah, makes a big difference.
Yeah. So all of those questions really don't get taken into account when you just ask a broad question that way.
Right. Yeah. We'll probably ask a lot more questions because of that question.
Yeah. What are we talking about here? Another question that you might want to avoid, at least for us, and this happens a lot. So past clients, I don't want you to feel bad that you've asked this question. It's totally fine to ask this question.
Yes, we still love you.
Can you give me a range? I just want a range. And it's this question goes beyond the animation industry, right? It's not just here. You can give me a range for fixing my car.
Right.
Give me a range for some other kinds of things.
Construction work on my house. Yeah.
But the reason we don't like this question all that much is because it acts as an incentive to somehow get to the lowest number on that range. At least that's how people see it, right? Mm-hmm. Like,
give an example though.
Here's an example. So what if I gave you a really broad range, something like from $500 to $500,000?
That's a pretty big
difference. It's a giant range, right? And you're going to be like, okay, well, how do I get closer to the $500 mark? So when you're asking for a range, really you're asking, how do we get to that lower number, right? Or something like that. So give me a range really means there are other strategic decisions that haven't been decided on yet. And we should be asking more questions to try to get to a more concrete answer.
Right. Right into that $250,000 mark. A nice average.
Something in the middle. Yeah.
That's probably not the actual average. I don't think I did correct math there.
250. Yeah, we would have to do math.
Don't ask me to do math. That's just a personal problem.
And last question here.
Related to math, perhaps.
Last question related to math. Yeah, you're right, actually. Could you give me a guesstimate now?
Yeah.
Can you give me a number now?
Mm-hmm.
How early? Give me your number. Give me what's the number? Give me a number.
Right on this call?
Do you have a number?
Are you sure?
Yeah, just give me a number. What do you got? What is it?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the reaction we give our clients.
So this question is really meant to generate urgency So you never really want to be in a position as a studio or a freelancer where you're forced to give out a number without actually thinking through what you have to do. So if you are a freelancer or a studio, you want to watch out for this question. Find a way to sort of step away from the conversation and say, I need to think about that. Give me some time. Maybe ask more questions in that very moment. If they've given you all the answers and, maybe you have something in front of you that you're doing calculations with, that might be a different situation, but it's about the urgency. And I think all the marketers and communication folks who are maybe listening will relate because they know how to generate urgency in their audiences, right? To try to get them to do
part of a strategy.
Buy now. That's all about it. But so those 3 questions, in summary, try to avoid these 3 questions. What's your cost per minute? Could you give me a range? And can you give me an estimate or a guesstimate now? Instead, you could do a couple different things. So maybe you want to lay out your goals clearly, right? So having goals, that's a much different problem. If you don't have goals, hopefully you do, but you want to sort through those
you might want
you get to us.
Approach a studio with some goals in mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to think through those as much as possible. The other is to schedule a discovery call, something around that, to hash out your ideas, think through some of those problems. What is it that we're trying to get to? We offer something like that on our website. You can book a call, 30 minutes. We'll kind of go through something like anything beyond 30 minutes is a different story. But, we'll get you started and give you some questions to think about. And hopefully at the end of that call, you'll come out with more concrete solutions.
Definitely.
So I think that's it.
Yeah. Pretty short and sweet.
Yeah.
We hope it helps.
Hacking.
Yeah. We hope it helps you get better estimates for the future and so that you get to the point of just making content faster too.
Yeah.
Because if you have the answers to the goals, then you're going to get a faster estimate out.
Gotta get it right now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.